Welcome Phil Steele to the show. The Phil Steele Preview Magazine is out to get you ready for the 2023 season. He joins us now. Phil, thank you for the time. It's great to have you on the show as always. And you told us the last couple of years, hey, this Tennessee team and program appears to be moving in the right direction. What do you see this offseason with Tennessee replacing Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton taking over, but that offense continuing under Josh Heupel?
Yeah, remember in last year's magazine, I forecast that Tennessee was going to have 45 points per game, and what they do, 46 points per game, even top that. First 11-win season since 2001. What a great year. And I don't think it slows down. I think you're going to see Tennessee, they are the legitimate contender to Georgia in the SEC East this year. I think when you look at Tennessee, the big question mark is you lose a Hendon Hooker who had just 2 interceptions all year. And that's a key number, I think, if you're a Tennessee fan. Circle that 2 number. If Joe Milton can come near that, then look out, because Milton's got the size, the arm strength, everything you want in an NFL quarterback, and he's in the perfect offense. He's now in his 3rd year of the offense. He's got a good supporting cast, 3 starting offensive linemen back. Despite losing a guy like Hyatt at the receiver spot, they've got McCoy. They add in Dante Thornton. The running backs are very deep. And the defense showed a lot of improvement last year. They improved by a touchdown per game. I think they'll continue to show improvement. You look at the schedule this year, Tennessee's going to be a dog at Alabama. They're going to be a dog home against Georgia. If you're going to win the East, you got to beat Georgia at home. That would be the key. But I think this team's very capable of getting back to double-digit wins this year, despite losing a player like Hendon Hooker.
Phil, you have lengthy conversation with coaches when you're putting this magazine together, and you spoke about that last year, your conversations with Heupel. I'm wondering, with your conversations with Heupel this year, what stood out the most to you?
Unfortunately, the timing didn't get there. I didn't get to talk to Coach Heupel. I did talk to offense coordinator Joey Halsey this year, but did not get to talk to Coach Heupel this year.
Did anything stand out to you, or what would stand out from the conversation with Joey Halsey, who's taking over as the OC for Tennessee and has been the quarterback's coach?
Probably the fact that he was very confident in the receiving corps despite losing a Blidnikoff winner in Hyatt. Felt that they were deeper than last year and could keep the guys fresher. The fact that Milton, who you had some wonders about, he's very high on Joe Milton, and thought that the offensive line was going to be deeper than last year as well and be able to keep the guys fresh. So I guess the overall take on the offense there was that they're a deeper unit and probably fresher later in the year.
Phil Steele is with us. Get the Phil Steele Preview Magazine to get ready for this upcoming fall. When you go through the schedule of what Tennessee will face, which of course includes Alabama and Georgia, A&M is the Western Division opponent, and they'll start September 2nd in Nashville against Virginia. What do you see with the schedule that Tennessee will go up against? When you look at a schedule, how much do you factor in, well, how good the team is that has to play at Tennessee in this case?
Yeah, that's always a huge factor. And give you an example of how I use schedule. You take a look at Ohio State. Ohio State's number 2 in my power poll this year, the second most talented team in the country, yet I only have them number 5. That's because Ohio State's got 3 real legitimate tests this year. They have to play Notre Dame on the road, they have to play Michigan on the road, and they also play Wisconsin on the road. So that's a pretty tough schedule. When I look at Tennessee's schedule this year, the Florida game is no gimme. I mean, yes, they finally got the Florida jinx done last year, got the big victory there. But they do have to play them in the swamp. I think that's going to be a tough game early on. The Texas A&M game, thank goodness Tennessee's off a bye for that one and get that one at home. I think that's why I've got them favored in that one. But A&M's going to be one of the surprise teams. The Bama game, of course, is going to be a tough one. Bama's always even tougher at home than they are on the road. And then you look at Kentucky on the road is not easy, Kentucky coming off a bye. And the Georgia game would be the final one. So those 5 games are key. I do have Tennessee favored in 3 of the 5, though. The only 2 games I have an underdog in all year are the Alabama game on the road and Georgia at home.
Phil, do you have a player to watch for Tennessee outside of Joe Milton there? I think everyone is looking at Joe Milton. He could throw it, a couple dozen miles. I mean, he can do backflip standing. I mean, he's bright personality. I mean, it's really easy to point him out. But, anyone else on this Tennessee roster, you look at it and say, hey, we need to pay attention to that player. Yeah,
it's a newcomer, a guy that's brand new to the team this year. It's Dante Thornton, a wide receiver. Dante Thornton is 6'5". He's 205 pounds. He's got that rare combination of size and speed. He's probably just as fast as Hyatt was. He runs good routes. He's got good length. And as mentioned, he's just as fast as Hyatt. So I think you're going to see Dante Thornton come in from Oregon, step in, and really steal a lot of the receptions this year and be one of the big newcomers of the year.
Phil Steele with us. The Phil Steele Preview Magazine will get you ready for this upcoming fall. Is there a team in the SEC that you find yourself higher on than others, whatever that others would mean, polls, over-under win totals, whatever, that you're higher on than most?
Yeah, I'm definitely going with Texas A&M in this case. Texas A&M is coming off a disappointing 5-7 season last year. They were a bottom 10 team in terms of experience. They were one of the least experienced teams in the country last year, suffered a lot of injuries, and had some close losses as well. So I think they're flying way under the radar. But Jimbo Fisher's brought in amazing recruiting classes 4 straight years. He is also, when you look at this team, last year, despite their 5-7 record, they nearly knocked off Alabama. Remember, they're at the 2-yard line at the end of the game with the chance to win. They did knock off LSU last year. They've got 10 starters back on offense, 10 on defense. They're now top 10 in terms of experience as opposed to bottom 10. And when you look at the schedule, the big question marks, Alabama at home, which I think they could pull the upset there, Tennessee on the road, and LSU on the road are the tough tests. I think A&M is a legitimate contender in the SEC West this year, and I don't think a lot of folks have them up there. Everybody's got Alabama and LSU.
What do you make of the quarterback position at Alabama?
It's a toss-up. I don't think anybody really knows who's going to win it. I mean, Jalen Milroe gives you that dynamic athlete. He can run. He's got a cannon for an arm. He just needs to be consistent and throwing the football. And I think at Alabama they've gone where maybe a long time ago they can get by with just a mobile quarterback. They need someone to throw the football. I just think Milroe has improved and can improve as the season goes on. Ty Simpson's a guy that's been there. He's one of the top quarterbacks coming out of high school. He's PS number 3. And then Tyler Buckner. I projected Buckner to win the job because Buckner's got the familiarity and Tommy Rees's system from Notre Dame. He's also got the starting experience, and I think he's a really good quarterback. So I think it's going to be a toss-up, but I went with Buckner.
Phil Steele with us. Outside of the SEC, around the nation, is there a team that's standing out to you that makes a big jump or is a bigger player than we've seen in the last couple of seasons? I guess I mean that in terms of, we know Ohio State, we know Michigan. Who else is standing out around the nation that will be maybe a playoff contender, a power player this year?
I'm going to throw 3 teams at you. First one I'm going to throw at you is my number 1 surprise team, a non-top 10 team that I think has a chance of making the playoff, and that's Wisconsin. And I got to be honest with you, I was skeptical of Luke Fickell coming in and going to more of a pass offense with Wisconsin, a team that's been geared to the run. But as he pointed out to me in our long conversation, Tanner Mordecai, a pretty capable quarterback, and they're not abandoning the run game. They've got Braylon Allen. They've got Ches Maluzzi. They got a big offensive line. He feels it's going to open up more space for those guys, and they're going to have just as effective a run game. They've got 8 starters back on defense after only having 3 last year, and they've got a dream schedule. The road games are against Washington State, Purdue, Illinois, Indiana, and Minnesota. All of them fall in the winnable category. They are my number 1 surprise team, or a team that could come out of nowhere and actually make the playoff, especially after being 7-6 last year. Now, these other 2 are bigger names, and they'll probably be preseason top 10, but I don't think a lot of folks are talking about them as legitimate playoff contenders, but I am. One of them is Notre Dame. And with Notre Dame, their problem last year, first of all, they had a first-year head coach, and secondly, they had a backup quarterback in Drew Pine at the quarterback spot. This year, they've got Sam Hartman, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's got a deep stable of running backs, one of the top offensive lines in the country. Marcus Freeman knows defense. He's got 8 starters back on the defensive side of the ball. And when you look at their schedule, they get Ohio State at home. They get USC at home. And I think both of those are winnable games. The one game I've got them an underdog in all year is at Clemson. And if they go 11-1, I think they have a legitimate shot at the playoff. And speaking of that Clemson team, I've seen a lot of preseason top 25s that don't even have Clemson in the top 10 this year. They're not going to be favored to win the ACC. Florida State is this year when the media poll comes out. But I love this Clemson team. And talking to Coach Sweeney, as I did this year, he told me the defensive line doesn't have the star power of that 2018 group, but this group is deeper in talent and experience than the 2018 group. If you have that good of a defensive line, you're going to be a contender. You've got Kate Klubnik at quarterback, Shipley and Moffitt at running back, their best offensive line they've had in 4 years, some threats at wide receiver, and one of the best defenses in the country. Then you factor in their schedule. Their road games are against Duke, Syracuse, Miami of Florida, not easy but winnable, NC State and South Carolina. I've got Clemson favored in all 12 games this year. I think they run the table, go 12-0, and while nobody's talking about them as one of the top 4 teams, as opposed to past years, I think Clemson gets there this year.
What about Hugh Freeze at Auburn? I mean, we know him as one of the best coaches in the country, beat Alabama a couple of times while he was at Ole Miss. What do you think he's going to do his first year at Auburn?
He's got a tough schedule. They rank at number 11 in the country. It's also a first-year head coach. Got to learn the players. Players have to know the system. But I think he steps into an interesting situation. Remember last year, once Auburn lost to Penn State, basically Coach Harsin was a dead man walking. Mm-hmm. And, you had to wonder how much the team believed in him. Everybody knew he was going to get fired. The only question was when. And all of a sudden they went on that long losing streak. Finally brought in an interim head coach. Boom, they win a couple of games and gave Alabama a good game at the end. I think he steps into a good situation because the team can believe in their head coach. He's going to be around. They have to believe. He's got 17 returning starters come in. He's brought in some good transfers as well. So I think the talent's there at Auburn, but I don't think the talent's there for them to get back to being an SEC West contender this year. I think they can get back to a bowl game, probably definitely improve upon the 5-7 record of last year, probably get to like 7, perhaps 8 as a top end for them. A better season at Auburn, but not quite up to the fact of playing with your Alabamas, your LSUs, and as I mentioned, Texas A&M.
Phil Steele, when we get to talk to you, that means we are close to college football season. People can get your magazine to get ready. What's the best way to do it, the best way to find the Phil Steele Preview magazine?
Yeah, the best way to get it is head out there to your Barnes & Nobles right there. They've got the magazines. They're up and available, and they've got plenty of them in store. So Barnes & Noble, if you have a Books A Million in the area, that would be a place to go. And you can also go online. If you go to philsteele.com, you can order the magazine there, get the hard copy. And if you order the hard copy at philsteele.com, we give you the digital magazine for free, and the digital magazine gets updated all the way through September. So Barnes & Noble and Books A Million are your exclusive dealers this year. Not going to be any place else, just Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or you can go to philsteele.com.
We have both in our listening area, plus those streaming everywhere, Phil, and then philsteele.com. Phil, thanks for the time as always. It's always great to have you on the show.
Hey, a lot of fun talking football with you guys, and it had to be a fun season for you last year with 11 wins, right?
The mood in Knoxville, you could guess, Phil, is a little bit better than past years when we had you on the show. Yes, very much.
All right, thank you.